It's Wednesday, the 1st of March, 2023. In this evening's show, we are discussing the potential future or not for Blackpool in the Championship, as following Saturday's powder puff defeat at Reading sees the Pool cut adrift from safety by 4 points and staring down the relegation barrel. I'm John Aspinall, and this is the Seasiders podcast. Extra time special, the relegation run-in.
A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Welcome on the audio pod. Having a bit of a special extra time show on a Wednesday night. Unmute yourself, Sir Keir. Fresh from your travels in Europe. I'm sure you're going to bore everyone with your hipster football
feeling
trip.
rather jaded tonight.
I
must have been mad when I agreed to do this, because I was that first day back, you always feel like a bit rough, don't you? So.
Well, you left Ash to fight a whole pub, didn't you?
According to him, yeah.
His ramblings on ABFTT.
It was rather garbled, wasn't it? So we didn't get tickets for the last game, so we sat in the bar watching it. The tickets were dodgy, so
Who bought them?
We ended up so Ashley's shouting the bar down, singing Malaga songs in Granada, which went down like a lead balloon. So as it would. So we had to act as peacekeepers.
You can never tell when he's had a few, can you?
No.
I read that post about 3 times before I had to work it, before I realised what he was actually on about.
I was there and I still don't know.
Part of his Blue Anchor firm.
Hey, maybe the Blue Anchor firm will get an invite to the structured dialogue meeting.
They will if they're an official supporters group. That's it. Set a Facebook page up. You're in.
That's it. Get it sorted, John. Is the podcast officially there now? Have we managed to get an invite?
I requested me and Nick, but I got told just me. Even though Nick can't go anyway. But yeah, just one. But I was initially told no. Snapped back a bit at Steve, probably shouldn't have, but I just said Facebook groups are allowed in, and we've been podcasting for 13 years on the internet about Blackpool FC, and we're not allowed in.
So look at the reach. You've got to look at the reach we've got. Exactly. I think you see all the people who particularly the exiles, who sort of not to say rely on us, but most certainly we help keep the connection going. I thought it was a bit poor form. You weren't top of the list, John.
Well, just on it. But I arranged to do something else after I was told no, so I might not be able to go now in the end. So, childcare issues now. So, if I don't go, I'm sure Maggie will be flying.
You can watch the live stream. You can watch the live stream instead.
It's not being live streamed, is it? It's like North Korea. Right, anyway, let's get on with this relegation.
Chuckling away.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about the structured dialogue meeting a bit further down in the show notes anyway, so stay tuned. Craig, yes, Tim's travels will be more interesting than dissecting the Reading game, but we are going to dissect it, not as much as we normally do, given the fact it was so poor. A lot of us have just wiped it from our memories. Let's just have a quick look at the lineup. Maxwell, Lyons, Nelson, Thornley, Husband, Garbutt, Carey, Connolly, Bowler, Medine, and Lavery. And we all picked that brilliant team, didn't we? And we all said there's no chance that team will happen. That has transpired. We gave 2 match predictions. I think all of us had us winning with our team. I think we all had us losing with a team of this ilk there. No surprises, Tim, that we've lost the game with that lineup.
No, I mean, it's it's becoming like a bit of a broken record, really, isn't it? We sort of, I can't remember in all the years of doing the pod where we've always, Critchley would always throw up a little googly of some description, wouldn't he, that would flummox you. It wouldn't necessarily make the team or you wouldn't have the perception that the team was manifestly weaker.
But it always works, didn't it, with Critchley when he threw in those curveballs? He tended to know what he was doing.
Yeah, we just don't seem to be able to get the shape right at all, which I find remarkable. Obviously, because I was on my foreign jaunts, I probably didn't pay as much attention to this as I otherwise would have done, because the game I was in kicked off sort of like in and around the same time. But I remember looking at the team sheet at 2:00 and just thinking, right, well, that's us with nil points yet again. And so it proved to be.
Raggy, in what strange dimension is Luke Garbett ahead of Morgan Rogers? Does such a world exist?
It does, if they're having a scrap on the training ground. Fought for his place. I think they're having a big fight, and whoever wins first 11, they're on again.
I can't see Luke Garbett beating Morgan Rogers, though.
Maybe not. But the best players are on the bench again. That's all I think. That's all I thought when I saw it. How you have these best players. I think I've said it before. I keep saying it to people. Every game's a cup final, and it's just like, well, it'd have been like Manchester United rocking up on the Sunday to that cup final without Fernandes playing or Rashford playing or leaving them on the bench, saving them for later. It's bizarre. That's the equivalent of it. That Pervader and Rodgers particularly are two of our best players, and we're just leaving them on the bench for no good reason. Bizarre. So I the same. As soon as I saw the team, I thought, oh, here we go. And then it was confounded with a stream that was ridiculous. A buffering stream. So
it probably did us a favour in the end, Nick.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say to you. What was I going to say?
I'd echo what the guys have said. First of all, apologies that I've not got my normal equipment with me tonight. I'm on the iPhone, so the sound quality isn't up to scratch. I'll let you sort that out post pod match, John, with your wizardry.
I'm more interested in the monogram on your shirt, to be honest, rather than what you've got to say.
It's the Holland Humble Gents Social Club T-shirt, Tim. Have you not got one?
No.
Well, you need to get with
good,
it.
Is it? I wasn't. But it's very striking.
It is. Yeah. So similar to you, I mean, I thankfully
just for the benefit of the audio pod
didn't get to see much.
I think I'll use my audio editing wizardry to cut out that fascinating little segment there.
Yeah, I didn't see much of the game, thankfully. But when I saw the team, similar to what a lot of people probably thought, what's Garbett doing in there? Pervader on the bench, Rodgers on the bench. It felt like we're going to have another missed opportunity here to get something from a game when we're rapidly running out of those opportunities. When you think about how many we're probably going to have to win to stay in the league, it feels like he's getting a bag, putting a load of numbers in, and doing lucky dip. You know, one week you're not in the squad, the next minute you're starting. You know, we've seen it with Thompson in recent weeks, now Garbett. And yeah, it's just you're deflated before a ball's been kicked, aren't you? And it's difficult enough at the moment, given where we are in the league. At least if we pick what is, you know, a lot of people perceive to be the best team or the best players, and we go down fighting, you could say, fair enough, you know, perhaps just there's a lot of factors if we do go down how that's happened, but it just feels like we're not giving ourselves our best chance of winning games at the moment, and that will be a crying shame if we do go down and we've had these players spending more time on the bench than on the pitch.
Well, you just take right back position. You know, we've got Gabriel who's come back in, and it was probably one of the few positive performances from Blackburn, wasn't it? I think we all said that on the podcast, and it's a little bit like Lions. When Lions was playing well, they seemed to drop out of the team, even though they're literally, you know, up for Man of the Match award. It's almost beyond bizarre, you know. And again, you've got the option of putting Lions on the left-hand side. He's very capable over there, and yet we'll bring in Garbett, who let's be right, is hardly cemented a place in the side at any point since we got elevated to the Championship, and leaving, like I said, leaving Gabriel out just doesn't. When I saw, to be honest, I'd almost forgotten how astounded I was on Saturday. Obviously, I only got back very, very early hours of this morning, and sort of still trying to sort of, as well as full day at work, just sort of pick the pieces out a weekend. And it becomes bizarrer the more you think about it, and the more you think back to the Blackburn game as to what a positive performance he had.
I'd actually forgotten he dropped Gabriel, it's just mental, like you say, Tim. Sorry, Nick, go on.
No, I was just saying, and Fiorini as well, who obviously, he had that half, and I get he's got to be wrapped in cotton wool, and you don't want to rush him back, but then
needs must though at this time of the year.
Yeah, even
gamble. You got to gamble, haven't you?
20 minutes, but I think if he played for the development squad yesterday, would it not have been more beneficial for him to have 20 minutes, half an hour in the Championship? I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one, unless City have got a say in what's going on. But it kind of feels like he's come back and then, oh no, we can't play him for 2 games now.
A lot of unhappy people in the comments. Kelly's just said, can't see where our next win is coming from. Matthew Warrender likes this one. I think Garbutt is teacher's pet to Mick McCarthy. That's why he starts ahead of Rodgers.
He's got a good Yorkshireman. He's got a good song though, hasn't he? So maybe we should think of some good songs for those on the bench, and then we might get them on.
Well, you're over to you, Raggy.
Yeah, you're the man for the job. Well, briefly touch on the game if we must. We started okay, as per usual, didn't do anything with it, and they scored. Nick, Tom Ince, the softest of soft goals. 3 players in front of him. Sort of unchallenged, and he just hit a speculative drive, and it somehow ended up in the back of the net. Bit of a deflection, but...
Yeah, I can't remember. Who was it who was on the ball, got the ball past them and kind of got it stuck under the feet? It was I can't remember his husband.
Husband had an absolute shocker, didn't he?
Yeah, from what the highlights, he looked like he had a poor game, and then when you're bottom of the league, that's what happens, isn't it? Takes a deflection, it's in the back of the net. Credit to him for not celebrating too much, but just at that point, you think,
Here we go again.
How are we going to get back into it? We've gifted them a goal really there with the way we've given the ball away. Really poor.
Raggy, any thoughts on the first half? Tom Ince obviously not celebrating. I thought it was quite a nice touch actually from Nitana to not celebrate, given the shit that we've been giving him over the year. So a bit of a class.
He takes it on the chin, I think, doesn't he? When he gets that shit. Well, it was difficult watching the first half for 2 reasons. One, because it's rubbish, and 2, because it kept buffering on me. So, like that first goal, 1 minute they're on the ball, next minute it froze, then it was in the net. So, so that's typical, isn't it? Typical. And it went on like that the whole match. But from what I saw the whole match, they played okay. They played okay. And I spoke to my cousin who went to the game, and he said he thought that they played all right. But we're just 1-0 down, and that's it. It's game over, isn't it? And that's largely because of that team that's playing. I'm sure it is. It's set up not to lose, even though we are shipping goals anyway. And then when we do concede, that's it. Game plan's gone. What do we do now?
It's like you've said. It's like we've set up not to win the game. David Dixon, it's as if we go all out to play players who won't create a chance for the strikers.
Yeah. It's 0-0. 0-0, nick a goal. 0-0, nick a goal. But it's not working 0-0. We don't have that team. We don't have a load of 6.5 foot players that can just defend and just wing the ball and long ball. We don't have it. And I don't know why he can't realise that, or why he hasn't realised it so far, or why somebody else hasn't gone in and told him that, listen, you need to sort this out. If it was my business and someone was doing that, I'd be going radio rental at them. But I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's not what I was. It's got to a point, I suppose, that when somebody mentioned that Holloway was in town yesterday, I even thought, bloody hell, it might not be a bad idea getting him back.
I must say, when you, obviously your mind does start racing, doesn't it? I mean, I think for those who are on the on the podcast and whatever, the group that I can't remember, we mentioned it in the patrons actually, but it was reported he was at Bloomfield Road, so your mind does start racing, doesn't it? And not that I would have
Can't
thought
be any worse. Cannot be any worse than Mick McCarthy.
Yeah.
At least it's set out to win a game.
I think
he was actually there. He was there for Sky apparently. So.
Yeah. But he's, and I wouldn't particularly want him back, but I just thought, well, if it was him, like, I'm sure he'd just pick the best attacking players possible and go for it at least. And I don't know why they don't do that. Like Saturday, we'll get pummeled on Saturday if we come out with a team like that and try and defend the whole game. I don't know.
Well, tear us a new one.
They will. Well, they will, unfortunately. They will. I've watched them a few times, like everyone else will, and they're a good side, and they're going to. That's what they're going to do to us. If we put that team out there that played on Saturday, that's going to be a 5 or 6-0 job coming our way. But if we change
really
and we have a go,
we're playing a derby, and you almost don't want to go, do you? Because you know what's going to happen.
No,
I know, and I hate Burnley as well. Hate them. They've always. When I was growing up, we played them a lot more than we played Preston.
They were our main rivals at the time, weren't they?
I'll always Preston will always have a special hatred in my heart. Don't get me wrong, but Burnley are not that far behind. But we've got to turn up and potentially watch a hammering.
It's a bit like when the news of the Preston tickets came out today, or was it yesterday? I was like, shrugged my shoulders. It's like, whatever, who cares?
Well, come on, John. We always care.
We'll still go.
We've got to go there and trounce them because they are rubbish.
We might need to go there and win. We
do.
Don't want to. If we don't pick a few points up, I don't want them being a nail in the coffin.
That'll be one of our 5 wins. Don't worry.
Yeah.
5 wins, 2 draws, 5 defeats. That's all we need. Average form, innit? 5 wins, 2 draws, 5 defeats. Show average form and we're staying up.
There's an unfortunate variable in your equation, Raggy, and it's called Mick McCarthy.
Well, yeah. It'll help if we play the best players in the right positions. For certain. Oh, I don't know. Maybe he's going to have to go back to the old shuttlecock soon and see what he can do. But
we've got Thompson and Shuttlecock.
Yeah.
That sounds like another Backstreet solicitors firm.
Another one. That's it.
That's a spin-off. That's the accountants. That's their sister company of accountants, of chartered accountants. Thompson and Shuttlecock, Tim.
But that's where it's all been going wrong.
Yeah. Having said all this, I actually think we're going to do all right on Saturday. I cannot see anyone in the right mind, experienced manager, thinking that we're going to go and defend against them. Can't do it. Cannot do it. If he does, he needs turfing out at 2:00 when the team sheet comes out. But can't do it. Got to attack.
I think our expectations are so low for this game that it can only be a positive. It's got to be better than we think it's going to be. That's the way to look at it.
Oh, bang on the money.
And generally, that's what does happen with Blackpool, isn't it? It's when you least expect them to do something, they'll do it. And when you've got decent support there and expectations, you end up either in a crappy 0-0 like it was at Preston last year. Sorry, not 0-0. We lost, didn't we? We contrive to lose the game by a scrappy goal, last minute, injury time, whatever it might be. So, bit of reverse psychology. Maybe we'll do all right, Rags. I'm actually picking some up from you now, aren't I?
Absolutely. Well, listen, it's although like everyone thinks that we'll lose these games when expectations on, we're pretty good in playoff finals when expectations there. But these are playoff finals now, aren't they? That's the mentality. That's what does my head in. That's the mentality should be running through the club and the town right now. Every game's a final here, and everyone needs to be up for it. And it's hard when you don't see the best players on, but you wouldn't turn up to the playoff final and not put your best players on. So put your best players on the pitch in the right positions, and everyone will get behind it.
I think that's got to be your question at the structured dialogue meeting, Reggie.
Can you tell
Mick to play the best players in the best positions. But what's the line again? Play your best players in the best position.
Play your best position. Play your best players in the right positions.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah. No, my questions are all based around vegan pies and grassy naps. Yeah.
Back to the game, Nick. Lavery injured.
Yeah.
Jerry, I think it was another hamstring, wasn't it? So that's him and Jerry both out now.
Yeah, I think Medine was feeling his at one point as well.
That's unbelievable.
Heard that. I just kind of laughed because it's one of those, isn't it? Gallows humour. It's just like, what else could go wrong? And I'm not one for conspiracy theories or anything, but how many hamstring injuries can you have over? Well, it's probably good 2 seasons now, isn't it? It just seems to be continual, and it seems to be the extreme end of it as well when it happens, and they're out for. It's never 4 weeks, is it? It's always 8+ or whatever. Hopefully with Jerry, it's not too bad, and we will see him back sooner rather than later. But yeah, it's just unbelievable. Have we had an update on Lavery yet, other than it's hamstring? We don't know number of weeks or anything. I think it'll be at least 6, won't it?
We were totting up how many players are out while we're away, and there's a good 10, isn't there?
Yeah,
10 players who would be in or around just starting 11, probably. It's not. It's and like you talk about it. It's got to be more than a coincidence. Whether it's they're not stretching properly, whether it's they're not cooling them down right. There's something fundamentally wrong when you have as many repetitive injuries as we do. Because I don't know, I don't think other teams have these issues, or they don't see. Well, I don't have the perception that they have.
Right, the hamstring injuries we've got at the moment, right? Charlie Good, Keshi Anderson, Marvin Ekpateta, Tom Tribal, Jerry Yates, and now Shane Lavery. All hamstring.
It's just ridiculous.
Very nearly Medine as well. I think it was close, wasn't it? It's just bizarre. Yeah. So when that happened, it's just again, we're not going to be able to get anything out of the game. I think we did have a reasonable chance with Medine, didn't we? Where ball came to his back to goal, he kind of turned and fashioned a chance shot just across goal. But yeah, then we're kind of chasing the game in the second half. They break away, and you knew what was coming. You just knew what was coming. Even if it wasn't going to be a lunge to get the ball, I thought he's going to just clip his foot here. He's going to go down, and it's a penalty. And yeah, and so it proved to be, unfortunately. And then it really is game, isn't it?
At least there wasn't a red card.
Well, that was that was probably one of the.
I was waiting for it. I was going, here we go.
Thank God it's only a penalty.
Yeah.
That'd been Abbott suspended as well.
Oh, dear me.
Yeah.
We'd have had one recognised centre half for Burnley.
We'd have played Maxwell there or something. Just kick the
one
ball.
One centre half for Burnley. Jesus Christ.
Well, maybe it's going to be. It's playing into his hands for attacking football, isn't it? No point defending. We haven't got anyone. So
yeah. Just by default.
Well, I think it's been coming lately. The best team's going to get on that pitch by default. There's no one else left. They're all right because they never play. What is the Jerry Yates latest, by the way? Because I've not really heard. What is?
I think it just said he'd felt his back tighten up, so potentially not his hamstring, although it's probably linked, isn't it?
It's not surprising. It was only saying here at Blackburn, if he keeps running round and then he got it, obviously that's where he went. If he keeps running round like that game after game after game, then he's going to get injured. We needed to go a couple of goals up in the game to be able to take him off.
Yeah, it's no surprise if it's not going to be hamstring, it'll be a calf strain or something. All of the sprinting he's doing, chasing across back fours.
Yeah,
chasing after lost causes, chasing after balls that have been avited down from one end of the pitch to the other. Shuttlecock throws, try to get on the end of them.
So, yeah, you don't have to move for them though. Just has to look up.
It's coming. It's coming.
You get Medine and Connolly jumping together and missing it completely. Still makes me laugh. That who was that goal against? Huddersfield, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When Havertz banged it up in the air and them two jumped.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He just missed the ball.
Two biggest players, two best in the air, completely missed it. We did score though, didn't it? Oh, Hobby was skinned. Tim, I don't know if you've seen the. I don't know if you've seen the highlights. Have you briefly seen it?
Can we call them? Can we call them
nightmare.
Highlights?
Husband had an absolute nightmare and he got skinned for the third. Tommins scoring again, but I down tools at this point. I thought, right, I've seen enough. Turned the telly off and I went to Home Bargains. I had a more fun time in there, buying some cleaning products. But I missed Sonny Carey's goal. I've just watched it back now. Decent strike and surprise, surprise, an assist from Morgan Rogers. I noticed.
Yeah,
we were saying beforehand, weren't we, that Carey does actually seem to be coming in with a few goals, doesn't he? You know, which is, we've always spoken about wanting a goal-scoring midfielder, and to be fair to him, there are other parts of his game that clearly need looking at, but he does seem to be able to find the back of the net on a reasonably regular basis, which is encouraging from our perspective and indeed his. But so I've seen his goal. It was a good finish, but it's sort of too little too late from the team's perspective.
As Raggy just said, brought Morgan Rogers on when we were 3-0 down. Perfect timing.
It's just...
it's laughable.
Well, it is. Another potential injury for no reason at all. If might as well just left him on the bench in the end.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What's the point? Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Nick, it's come out in the news today. There's a potential 12-point point reduction hanging over Reading, like the sword of Damocles.
Yeah.
Let's hope that the hammer comes down on that. We might have half a chance of staying up.
Well, yeah, it's a bit sad. That's what we're relying on or hoping for. But it could well help us. It was 6 points, but then it's been reported in the last couple of hours it could be 12. How set in stone it is, I don't know. Sometimes it's the facing this and then there's appeals or whatever, whether it's actually going to happen or not. I don't know. I've not had a chance to read in it.
Weren't they on a suspended points deduction already?
Anyway, they had an embargo as well last season.
Yeah.
I'm sure they did.
Get them relegated.
Fucking cheats. Yeah, fucking cheating bastards. Get them down.
Get them out.
We play by the rules. Very badly. But we play by the rules, don't we?
Yeah. So we'll see. But I think we've got to just try and concentrate on us, haven't we? And what we can do to affect it. And if that happens, it's a bonus. But there's other teams. There's still points to play for, and that alone doesn't necessarily save us. We're still going to have to pick up points between now and the end of the season.
5 wins, 2 draws, 5 defeats. Average form. That's it. Average form. 5 wins, 2 draws, 5 defeats. Stayed up at a canter. Everyone will be wondering what the hell this was all about.
Well, we've just booked. We've sorted Norwich today, and I was thinking, and I'd probably take it now actually if we needed to go there and get something. But that could well be the case, couldn't it? If we,
we'd be long safe before that. Long safe.
Is this with or without Mick McCarthy, Reggie? Which moves us nicely on to our next talking point. Stick with Mick? ? Is your points assertion with Mick McCarthy in charge or not?
I don't know. I don't know. Well, they're not getting rid of him, are they? There's no point even going down that route. That's not going to happen. So, it is with Mick. He's got to see some sort of sense sooner or later that kind of style or tactics, whatever he's adopting, is not going to work. It's not working. So hopefully, in the next game or two, he figures it out and we have a good run in of 10 games. Because who's the next two? Burnley and then Bristol City, isn't it? Bristol City away. So
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
two tough games.
Yeah, in reality, we'd be doing well if we got a point, wouldn't we? But you never know. Could turn up with 4. 5-1 on Saturday, Blackpool.
That's quite generous odds, actually.
Ooh. But I think we're going to be fine anyway. I do. I think we're going to be fine. But obviously, as each game keeps going, I remember saying this when there were 17 games to go. Don't worry about it. 17 games to go. Now we're 12.
that's it. We're running out, aren't we? But I think, like Raggy says, we'll stick with him because what are they going to do? I have to admit as well, when Tim mentioned Holloway at Bloomfield Road, and I replied and said, if we're doing media stuff, well, then did start to think, I wonder if this rallying cry from him before we play Burnley and 6 up front and, and all of that. But yeah, I don't think they'll get rid of him. I know there's, people mention, I'll give it Dobby and stuff, but, that's the other end of the scale in terms of experience, isn't it? While I don't agree with what McCarthy's doing in terms of picking the team and stuff, it's a hell of an ask if they did do it for somebody like Dobby just to step in this situation and and be able to try and pick up points. So I think they will stick with him, and we'll just have to see. Like Raggy said, it's trying to get the right players in the right position, and as each game goes by, it's another opportunity missed, isn't it? To be able to do that, because it doesn't have to be the way it has been. But it doesn't change it. That's the worry. I suppose.
And we don't need to rely on other teams, and we don't need to rely on points deductions. So there's enough games to go, but everyone's got the same frustration from what I can see and hear all the time, and it's that attacking sort of side of the team, isn't it? We just seem to be setting up.
Who genuinely think? I mean, so far he hasn't brought anything to the party at all, has he, Mick? Unfortunately, and I think the perception I have is that, and we said this again, we seem to be on rinse and repeat, in that he doesn't seem to know our players well enough to pick the best team. To me, I think virtually all of us could pick a better, or I think we could pick a better starting 11 than he's been doing every single game he's played.
Well, we have Tim, haven't we? We've picked a better team every single
undoubtedly
time.
And I just think we're going to hell in a handcart with him at the helm, unfortunately.
I think we should get rid of him. What's the point in keeping him if he's going to keep doing this?
I can't see any way we're going to stay up.
I can't. Not with him in charge. No. Not with if he continues down this line of picking teams like he is doing. No chance.
Well, look, let's say Mick the latest comment in the comment section there. We have to stick with him, and hopefully he'll come good. Well, he's been brought in to freshen things up. And how many games in now are we? 6, 7? 7?
7, at least 7. It might even be 8. 7, no, definitely.
Yeah, definitely 7. And we've got 1 win. And our record is worse than before he came in. So it's not, at the moment, it isn't working. So unless he has a road to Damascus moment between now and Saturday, we're going to be having the same conversation post-match as we've had pre-match and post-match for the last 7 games. And it is that at the moment, the manager isn't picking the best team. He's not picking the formation that suits the players. And we're running out of games. We've got 12 left. I'm convinced we'll be having the same conversations when we've got 9 left, 6 left, 3 left. Well, by 3, I think we'll be down unless something dramatically changes. And that's not something that any of us relish, and not a nice thing to have to say, but I think that's where we're at.
We are unbeaten at home under him.
Are we?
Yeah.
Gosh.
2 draws. Huddersfield, Rotherham, beat Stoke.
Well, I would never have said that.
There you go.
To be honest, it starts to get you after a bit, and it's getting me at the moment where I just, and you speak to a lot of other people, and they're all very much the same mindset. That it is actually starting to. A couple of guys are away with, it starts to depress you a bit, and we need him to do something that's going to get us on the edge of our seats and get us doing our bit to make it happen. But it's very difficult when you actually watch what is happening out there. Like when you go to Blackburn in numbers, it's 3,000 at Blackburn, and that it wouldn't have taken much to get us going, and yet we dished up nothing, did we? And now all it needs is that if you, I think I didn't get a chance to read the whole article. I think Matt Scrafton put something in, didn't he, about at least go down fighting. If Blackpool are going to go down, don't go down with a whimper, go down with a bang. Yeah, and that's what we need to do. And he, listen, he's done it often enough. He needs to find a way of making that happen for us. I just can't. But I haven't seen nothing in the first, if it is 7, if it is 8, whatever it is. I've seen nothing in the last 7 or 8 games that tells me he's going to do it. And I hope I'm wrong.
No, well, I think you're right, but I'm hoping you're wrong.
Yeah. Well, I am.
It's not that anyone wants a different manager per se, is it? It's just we want attacking football. We all think we know what the better team is, and we're probably right because everyone's saying it. And although we're not football managers, we have watched football for a long time, and
we've watched these players a lot. Most of us have watched. There's probably bar the low knees that come in. We've watched the most of those players 100 times.
Yeah,
and you do learn. You don't have to be a football manager to know who can play what positions well, who is always going to put a shift in, who isn't going to put a shift in, who's going to turn somebody on a sixpence and create a chance. And we see at the moment we seem to be doing there's something wrong in about, the shape's wrong. There's at least 3 players on the subs benches should be starting. There's an incredible number of injuries. And it all, the cumulative effect of all that is to create the scenario we're in. When you bring the manager in at this point in the season, you're looking for something that's going to give you that little bit of a buzz, a little bit of injection in the arm, so to speak, to get you nicking a few points. And I generally think Appleton would have had about 4 or 5 more points on the board if he'd stayed. And that's not me bigging him up. I just generally think we would have 4 or 5 more points than we've got.
Well, maybe. I mean, he never got a chance with the players that came in. But, I mean, he only got 4 out of the previous 11, I think it was. Out of the previous 11 games.
I think he'd lost the dressing room, hadn't he, Appleton?
Yeah. To be fair, I'm not saying, I'm just comparing with like.
He may have done. He may have played a better... I mean, what players came in? Rodgers was...
Rodgers came in, didn't he?
Bowler.
But, I mean, he did have Bowler. He did have Paveda earlier and didn't play him, didn't he?
Mm.
But then he seems to have got a tune out of him, to coin the expression, hadn't he? Just towards the end. And
played him in the number 10 role, Tim, that we keep desperately asking Mick McCarthy to play him in. Never does. Doesn't even play him.
Who's put that on there? Is Raggy on the Tim juice? What does that mean? What does that mean? I don't know. Someone's put it on them comments. Gin. What does that mean? Am I on the gin? Well, what have I said?
Can't see it.
Is it because I think we're staying up? Is that what it is?
I think so.
Gin's the devil's drink to you, isn't it, Raggy? It's got to be vodka and Red Bull.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, only Smirnoff vodka, real Red Bull. Our new sponsors, our new owners.
Well, they might be taking over a League One club if this doesn't change as it stands. Let's have a quick look at the league
ask the
table.
question on Friday.
We're on 31 points, 4 points behind Cardiff.
Johnny wants a word.
I was interested. I just had a quick look at the Reading. I mean, even if they had their points deduction, they're still ahead of us. That's if they get the full 12 points. So I think they're on 44, aren't they?
44.
So,
oh yeah, they are. Yeah.
It throws them into the mix. But even with the 12 points, they're ahead of us.
Yeah, but they'll be wounded if they get that. So there'll be a different thing. Look at Queen's Park Rangers there as well, by the way. Dropping like a stone.
Do you want to see something funny? Burnley are on 76 points. We're on 31. So it's a lot more than double.
Yeah, the odd point here and there.
It's 2.5. It's almost 2.5 times the number of points we've got.
Oh, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. You know it doesn't.
Yeah.
Who's to blame for all this then? We're obviously at this structured meeting. I think there's going to be a few fingers of blame pointed. Who are you going to be pointing at?
I think there's a number of factors, isn't there? And you could rank them in, whichever order you think has had the most impact. Obviously, you'd look at the recruitment back to the summer, Critch going suddenly, and then the appointment of Appleton. Yes, injuries have undoubtedly are a factor as well. We have been without some absolutely key players for a long, long time. But I think you look at the appointment of Appleton, it wasn't a popular appointment. It was probably the wrong appointment in my opinion. The summer transfer window was a bit of a mess. We tried to remedy that in January, and ironically brought in Appleton type players, and then potted him, and there wasn't a lot of people clamouring for him to stay, but like you said, Timmy, he would have maybe got more out of those players, and then you appoint a guy who, loads and loads of experience, but we did kind of wonder how much those flair players would feature, and it is as it is, coming to pass that not all of them are, and we're not winning games of football. So I think there's a number of factors. I think the club would acknowledge that the recruitment has been poor because they've gone about replacing the recruitment.
Will they acknowledge that though, Nick? I don't think they will.
Well, whether they actually come out and say it, I don't know. But the fact that we got the two guys in from Coventry, didn't we? Shows that they weren't happy with whoever they'd got in doing the job previously. So I think they recognised that needed to change. We were told that there was a certain philosophy at the club. It didn't really matter who the manager was. When Critch went, it was kind of somebody else comes in, and it's the same philosophy, if you like. And then they go and appoint Appleton, which didn't really follow with what they talked about in terms of a manager in the Critch mould. And then even more so with Mick McCarthy, although I think it was done because of the situation we're in, rather than that still being the long-term plan. So I suppose you've got to look at a board level for those decisions, and I suppose the key thing is whether they learn from them. Whatever division we're in next season, I don't think that Mick McCarthy will be the manager, and if they're going to go back to a Critchley type coach, this kind of I say young, but manager who's maybe not got experience of managing, but has done coaching. Whether it's the guy at Man United was rumoured, wasn't he? Somebody like that. We've absolutely got to get that recruitment right in the summer for whichever division it is. So yeah, I think there's various different factors for me.
Tim,
I think the managerial appointments have been shocking, and I think not just in who's been recruited, but the way that they fly in the face of the system that we're meant to be playing, and the Blackpool way. We've moved from we had Grayson before, didn't we? I think we seemed eventually Critchley, because Critchley had a bit of a bumpy start, but he settled down with the right people behind him. I think, as I said when I was out on holiday, wasn't I? And we did that phone in the day he actually left. That I said then that it was a incredibly poor timing from our perspective, and I think that's had a massive influence this season. But we keep jumping to managers who don't fit the system.
Well, then you've got to think, Tim, why did Critchley walk out? Was it because he wasn't backed?
I'm not sure it's about... I mean, I think I may have thought his stock was as high as it was going to get. But I've equally got to say, there was a big money law, wasn't there, from the point of view of going into the Premier League, being with Gerrard. But I think then we should have picked a manager, as Brighton did when Potter left. Pick a manager who suits the system, and Nick dealt with it very eloquently when he said, we were told from the outset it almost doesn't matter who the manager is. He's actually a coach because we're playing a system. It's a long-term project. This is what we're doing. This is how we're going to do it. And it's almost like we've just thrown away the rule book, not once but twice, because we've done it with Appleton, and then we've actually started to recruit the players that suit Appleton's system, and then we've potted Appleton. We haven't brought somebody else in who plays 4-3-3. We brought somebody who plays a completely different system in again. So it's like you almost feel like you're banging your head against a brick wall. It's just it comes across as crisis management, and not. It doesn't look very good.
Who's
and I'm not actually blaming Mansfield. I don't necessarily think it's Ben Mansfield's fault. I think we don't know who ultimately has made the final decisions on these appointments, but I'd be quite surprised if Ben Mansfield wanted to bring Big Mick in, personally.
Well, maybe these questions will be answered, Raggy, on a Friday evening at the structured dialogue meeting.
Well, they'll definitely be asked, won't they? So, but people have to, people want answers to the questions who's to blame, but what if they say, yeah, we are? What answers are people expecting? And what do they do with them answers? I mean, they're not going to come out. They're not going to start slating managers, are they? Current or past. They're going to say they acted within the best they could do, the best candidates, the only candidates that were there. All that type of stuff. It's been said before and it'll be said again, I'm sure. But appointing Appleton was a disaster. As simple as that. I know Critchley, people can say what they want about, maybe we weren't going to spend any money. Maybe it was, but ultimately he got offered a big job at a Premier League club with his bleeding idol who he wanted to make tea for and put the cones out for. And that's where he went. But what we did after that, how they never thought that Appleton thing was going to go down like it did. He had to win. He had to set off winning to get rid of all of that old mentality. And whatever it was just his dour nature. His football was never good. He left here in the first place, although people would forgive him for that under them circumstances. The Preston connection, people can laugh at it and say, well, it's ridiculous, but it's there and it causes problems like it did cause an issue, and it does. So it has to be taken into account. You certainly wouldn't be doing it if we were sat there. You'd account for that, wouldn't you? And go, how's that going to go down? And it took all of the good feeling out of it, I thought. It took all of that. People weren't necessarily behind him. They were behind him because they wanted him to do well, but they were never behind him. Michael Appleton's Tangerine Army wasn't ringing out round that ground. I was
gobsmacked when Appleton was appointed. I didn't believe it.
Everyone was. I mean, he wasn't even there, was he? He wasn't even in the reckoning. So I have no idea what went on there and how it came down to that and what happened with that Rosinia fella. Who else came in for it? Why that was decided that he was the best man for the job. They have said numerous times he was the outstanding candidate. I mean, what made him outstanding? I don't know. Who made that final decision? I don't know if it's Mansfield or Sadler overruled and said he wants him. I don't know.
I generally think that they seemed... The impression he got was that Rossini was in the driving seat and then something's happened that's caused a problem there, whatever that is. And
to be fair, not necessarily it might not be something that the club have done. That it could be, the candidate rather than the club.
But when you look at Hull and the positive
brilliant
influence he's had there, it's not looking a great decision. What if assuming if he just turned his back on us and said I don't want to come to Blackpool, then fair enough. But he seemed to be, and he was down to. Do you remember? I know these odds can be a bit off-putting, but it was like 25-1 on at one point, wasn't it, to be a manager? Normally, when they get in that close, that's because people know stuff and they know there's an appointment about to be made, and all of a sudden it's off, and then Appleton comes in on the coattail, so to speak, and he's the one we always wanted. But I just don't think that's right. I think something's gone on with Rossini, and then we've had a little bit of panic because we're getting close to the start of the season. Rightly, because Critchley's dumped us in it in June.
It's plenty of time though, Tim, isn't it? It's still, you've still got 8 weeks.
If you remember, the season started earlier.
Oh, of course.
This year, didn't it? Did it start in July? So actually, it's like the beginning of July rather than the beginning of June. I remember, I know where I was because of when I did the phone in, and it was in or around the 1st of June, and that doesn't give you long. I think it was 5, maybe 6 weeks. So I think there is an element of panic sets in then. And maybe we just grasped at what we thought was, he may well have interviewed well and talked a good game, but you only have to look at his stats as a championship manager to know that it was always going to be a big ask.
This was obviously a Ben Mansford appointment because he was his former agent, as someone's just put in the comments there. He was Appleton's former.
But he can't. He might well have been the one who contacted him or said he's available, whatever. But he's not made that decision on his own. No way. It's not just pulled him out of nowhere with the history he had with this club and all of the issues that might surround his appointment, and he's just solely made that decision. They've all made that decision, haven't they? Including the owner. And I don't know why Blackpool fans would think that would have ever gone down that well.
Let's hope this question gets asked on Friday.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask it.
Well, it needs asking because we all got a bollocking for querying it, didn't we?
Yeah. It needs to. And also the nature of listen, I know it must be really difficult running a football club, but I know all the roles that go with it, and you're targeted everywhere, and you're only doing well if you're succeeding in some capacity in that. But the so little information that comes out is not good anymore. If the world's changed and football fans want to know about their club, it's their club, it's our club. You want to hear information, even if it's good or bad. Even about the training ground. I mean, that training ground's been mentioned as long as I can remember through past owners and present. And it just, maybe sometimes they need to just say it again. Some people say, well, if they've got nothing to say, don't say it. But no, these things just need mentioning. Like, yeah, he's still on track. Oh, no, we've had a problem with the council. It's going to be dragged out for another 6 months. Fine, people might like to hear, but at least they know.
I think there's a fundamental difference. We're having a chat about this while I was away. I think there's a fundamental difference in the way that Simon will run his other businesses, which will be all about keeping a lid on things until the deal's done, not saying anything unless you absolutely have to, and running a football club where everybody is interested in the minutest of detail about anything. The colour of the seats in the kitchen of the training ground will interest people because people have got that level of investment in Blackpool Football Club.
Pies in the Birra Moretti lounge.
Yeah,
sausage rolls.
Cold pies.
No, we don't mind the sausage rolls, it's the pies.
Scoffed by the staff, Tim. Scoffed by the staff.
But in all seriousness, and we've gone for, I'll stand corrected. And listen, it's extremely positive that they're investing time and effort into this meeting. But it's a reflection of the fact that I think it's before Wigan that we had any comms at the club at all. That's including Ben, Brett, and Simon. And so it's great that having this meeting. But when there's a vacuum of information, that's when you get all the nonsense starting. And a lot of it will be nonsense. Some of it might not be, nobody knows. But there's been rumours flying around for weeks and for months, and it's because there's a vacuum. And that vacuum needs filling. And, we've got people in there who are more than capable of saying stuff and issuing statements and providing information. You just do you could do a video update with Ben or with Simon or with Brett on a regular basis. We've got our own TV channel, for God's sake. You can put content out, but when there's nothing for that length of time, then it's going to cause a problem. And it has caused a problem. And hopefully Friday night will go some way to addressing it, because it's needed. It's needed because we're sat here watching the ship go down. And it's like it felt like the captain's already jumped ship and got off in his dinghy.
Like that,
just leaving it.
Like the Costa Concordia.
That's what it felt like to me. Sorry.
Yeah, well, it's
that
like
Italian cruise ship where he accidentally tripped and fell into one of the lifeboats.
Well, that's it though, and that's what this part comes down to Mansfield, unless he's told otherwise. He's the chief executive of this football club, this business, and it's failing. There's a lot of rumours flying about all over the place. People are worried, and he's said nothing for a long time. Now, he might be of the opinion that, well, if I say anything, I'm going to get shit anyway. But that's not how to be. You have to face it, good and bad. And you're right, Tim. When there's a vacuum, they're going to fill it, and people fill it with all sorts of shit in this club. Like Red Bull buying the football. I was going to say Red
Bull. Like soft energy owners.
But they do, and it's the social media world now, isn't it, as well, right? And we're not very savvy at it, or we don't appear to be. We're not very good at PR. I don't believe that for a second. They do. It's much, vastly improved. I mean, it is, but that length of time without them key bits of information, even if it's just an update, they've got to know the fans. They know what it's like. You've got to know what it's like.
Do you know, they do well to have you and Tim on the board, I think.
No, that'd be terrible.
And a non-executive, a
terrible idea. We'd be sued. I'd end up sued. Tim could maybe get me out of it, but I'd be sued at some point.
I'm not very good at getting myself out of it in the first place, Maggie. So.
No.
This sounds like a job for Avid, Shuttlecock, and the big fella.
Yeah.
So we've got Tom in the messages saying, obviously, just drawing the analogy, they've had a meeting with Rizdale in the past, and he said we had the perception that we only get told what they want us to know.
I think that'll be what happens, Tim. Has anyone been to one of these structured meetings before?
Yeah,
Raggy
I've been. Tim,
what was it like, Raggy? Sorry.
Well, you do get a lot of these answers that are just nothing groundbreaking or anything like that. But it's for people there on Friday to not accept that answer if they don't believe it or don't agree with it. Got to go deeper.
Can you put your hand up and ask a random question?
Yeah,
Is that not permitted?
It's not North Korea, as you like to call it here. People do they follow up, and the question becomes another question, and it's fine, and they're perfectly open and everything, but it depends how far down you want to go into it, and that's what I mean about what answers do people want. That's what they need to turn up with. What answers are you expecting them to say? Because if they say, do you think the managerial appointments have been wrong? What if they say, well, they're the best available, and that's all, we've tried this and we've done that and we think they're great, but people won't be happy with that answer in the end. But what is it they will be happy with? Because they're not going to turn around and go, oh no, we've completely bollocksed it all up. That's not going to happen.
I do think they've I can only speak. I went as BST's representative to the last one. To be fair, it was a good meeting. But then when the minutes come out, there's a lot of stuff where we've been discussing reciprocal pricing that's just cut out for no reason. So people don't know that's been discussed, even though, Raggy, I think you were the last one, weren't you?
Yeah.
We spent about 30 minutes discussing reciprocal pricing, didn't we? And to be fair, they didn't agree with us, but they were listening to us, and I did hope they would take some of it on board. But this is why it should be streamed, because context gets lost in minutes, and they're not verbatim minutes, so they're not a literal transcript of what's said. They are a summary, and they are the club's summary rather than the fans' summary, because the fans don't get any input into what appears in those minutes. So I really wish they'd embraced zooming it, because there's nothing wrong with doing that. I saw Fleetwood. I saw Pilly do it at Fleetwood not that last season, and it looked great, because even if you can't make it, there's plenty of people, even if they wanted to try and get there on Friday night, couldn't, because of location or whatever.
You know why it is, don't you, Tim? It's because they're all lawyers.
Well,
they don't want to be recorded.
It'd be a good PR exercise for the club, though, wouldn't it? Surely.
It'd be watched by thousands.
Yeah. And
could sell adverts.
For me, that would be that level of transparency that you should embrace it, not be scared of it, because. And I think the justification in the past, because I know BST have raised it on more than one occasion, is that we don't feel we can be as open as if it's streamed. And I think, well, why wouldn't you? Because they are reasonably open. I've only done one, and that's in 1 in 3 years. But I was actually surprised how open they were. I wasn't sure that they were going to be as open as they could be. And it wasn't always just to agree with you and as Tom says on the P&E one, that they only get told what they want us to know. They did try, to be fair to Ben and to Brett, they tried to answer the questions. They justified their position, and they let you have your say back. But I think they're going to be in for a little bit of a rougher time on Friday than they have been on previous meetings, and that's just a consequence of where we're at. I mean, when we had the last one in October, we actually. I think it was October or November, we'd just come off that run of form, and we were quite comfortably mid-table. It was probably as good as it got, in and around Preston. I think, can you remember, Raggy? Was it early November or late October? But it was in and around the time of Coventry and Preston, if I remember rightly. So
yeah.
We weren't going to get a hard time, really, because actually it looked like we were in and around where we were the season before at that point.
Yeah. So yeah, we were. There was definitely no problem with the football at the time. But do you think our fans are slightly different than other fans as well? And this is something that the board might not understand, although they should. And Simon Sadler, we had a massive input into this club over the last few years, didn't we? Real dig. Everyone was involved from top to bottom in the club, inside it, getting rid of him, understanding every aspect of how that club worked from top to bottom. And maybe we want to know too much. I don't know. The other clubs, it seems natural to want to know, but maybe we want to know more. Maybe people like Mansford come in and think, "Fuck me, I've never had people like this that bleeding interested in everything that goes on."
It's probably a good point, that, Raggy, that under the previous regime there was, so much didn't come out. And when it did, you'd get a club statement, and you'd want to throw your laptop across the room, because it was designed to agonise, And then we've had this huge feel-good factor since Simon Sadler's come in, and then it feels like some of that has gone with things that have happened that we've talked about, with what's gone on the pitch and appointments and stuff. And then there's this vacuum, which again is a very good point that Tim makes, and people are filling it with all sorts. That you kind of start to cling on and go, what is going on? What is going on? And I think the fact that it's probably, I think when Steve replied to you, John, he said it's oversubscribed by 4 times or something. It just goes to show how many people, do want to know what's going on. And I think part of that is because what we've been through as fans, and that minute detail of what had gone on at the football club, with all the scribing that was done during the court cases and stuff like that. There's a real investment there, and ultimately we just want us to do well, don't we? And you don't want to lose that kind of crest of a way that we had been on, really, and that feel good factor. And I think that's probably part of it.
I think they've got to take that into account, haven't they? Where they've been. I don't think they appreciate that much.
No, and they should do, and maybe they do, because obviously, Brett and Simon are Blackpool fans, and so they've got to have some understanding of it all. But maybe we are just we when times are bad, we're trying to get on the inner wranglings of every aspect of the football club. When
Well, listen, we've been through, as Nick's touched upon, we've been through innumerable court cases. We've got a 165-page dossier on everything that went on at the football club between 2007 and 2017. So we know more than probably any fan knows about the inner workings of their football club, unless it's perhaps supporter owned in the first place. And it's in our DNA, the four of us were boycotters, picketed, did all sorts of stuff that probably doesn't need mentioning on here. But we're not the only ones, These hundreds did it.
Yeah,
thousands did
even.
it.
Yeah.
Thousands did it. And those people retain that interest, they retain that knowledge, they retain that ability to analyze what's going on, and I've always felt it should be embraced,
totally true. I mean, they fought. We fought for it, don't we? So we fought for something we wanted to keep alive. As far as we were concerned, we were fighting to keep the club alive, weren't we? That's what all the fans were doing. So we are going to have a bigger interest. And listen, it's a point I've made to particularly Brett Geraghty when I've spoke to him many times, is that I think you do a disservice to any member of staff of that football club, whether it be tea lady, manager, director, if you do not explain to them and put some sort of induction together that explains the history of this football club. And that goes for the good times and all that period of time, because that period of time changed the fan base as far as I was concerned. And if you don't explain it and why they are like this, and maybe why we are so interested in getting involved deeper, they'll never understand it. Probably think, bloody hell, what a set of lunatics these lot are. But no, if you understand why and where it all came from, and the fact that people put so much on the line to help, save the club, and in our opinion, in our minds, that's what we were doing, wasn't it? Then I do think they do a disservice by not having that. I'd have a week-long induction. They'd watch every video that ever went on about that. Anyone that came into that club, including all the history.
I think that's particularly relevant, Raggy, to the CEOs, people coming in at senior level, because they're not going to get that, are they? And
no, and they need to.
They need to know.
Massively important.
It was interesting when I've spoken to like John T and some of the others. They've actually said that they've all read the book and that was written and things like that. But I think what they're hearing is when they read the book, it's the first time that they're hearing about it. Where, like you say, if it was actually, if it was part of almost like an induction, you need to know about this before you even come in, because this is what this club's all about. Then,
well, I had a conversation with someone connected to the club. I won't say his name, but about it, who didn't know a lot about it, and probably shouldn't do because of how his connection is with the club. Wouldn't know too much about it anyway. Obviously knew about the boycotts, but never. So I said, right, I'm going to send you some videos, and I sent him about a dozen clips from YouTube, some interviews that went on, and some newspaper things and the response was just, wow, never knew that it was at that level. And
it's like when I went on that Watford podcast, they couldn't believe it. All these things I was reeling off. They were like, God, I had no idea.
Yeah, and they won't do. And if you're going for a job tomorrow at a company and you go in there and you think, oh, something's not quite right here. It's not the same as the last company, but something massive happened in the past and you weren't aware of it. It's not fair, is it? And I do think football club's different.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Let's move on to Burnley. We're on we're an hour and 10 already.
Thanks, Paul Williams, by the way.
Raggy is really starting to worry me. He's taking way too much sense nowadays. Right, we're going to go through the remaining fixtures, but I think we're running out of time, so let's just go on to the Burnley preview then. Can't see anyone's looking forward to this game. As we've said earlier, let's pick a team to try and salvage some Lancashire pride. Let's start with the formation. I think 4-2-3-1's the only hope we have. Attack from the outset. And Tim, we've been crowing for Grimmy to start. Is this the team? Is this the game for him to start?
I don't. Yeah, I'd like. I keep saying it, and I'd like. I just don't think Maxwell's. I've got a caveat what I say by. I didn't watch Saturday, but I did see the first goal. Am I being harsh in saying that Maxwell should have done better with that?
The deflection. All
right. I mean, to me, I've only seen it on my mobile one, so I'll reserve judgment on that one. But I want Grimshaw to play. He's our future.
It's time for him. Definitely.
He's the best distributor, and they are reasonably evenly matched. But he's the better player, and he's the better prospect, and he's if you're looking at doing it the Blackpool way, it's to bring young players through. So let's get him in.
Yeah. Centre halves, gentlemen. We haven't got much option and many options, have we? So it's Thornley and Avitt, I think.
Our favourite.
Yeah. Got to be Gabriel at right back, or is it Lyons?
I'd play Lyons left. So
yeah.
Into the midfield.
Well, I'd stick Connolly in there.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I would stick in there if you want the best team. I would stick Connolly and Patino in. But you might have a different view on that.
Not a bad shout, actually, with Connolly doing the majority of the donkey work.
Yeah, and Patino told, just supply those 4 bodies in front of you. Don't be going around. You don't have to go around kicking people.
And getting sent off.
Yeah.
See, I think against Burnley, we need to have 2 holding midfielders in there. I just think Patino's not going to get a foot in, or if he does, he's going to get himself sent off.
He's too slow.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, if Ferini was available,
is he available or not?
The first game he was only meant to be rested. We're not sitting for 3 games.
He played for the development squad yesterday.
Oh, yeah,
they lost 4-1 to Atkinson, so that went well.
Whole game.
I don't know if he played all game.
He's fit enough to play football, then, isn't he? Surely.
Right. Well, I'll be happy with Fiorini.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's assume he's fit, and he goes. I think it picks itself again, doesn't it?
10-3, yeah.
Come on, Mick. Watch us and
learn.
Watch and learn, or watch and
Pervader
do.
in the 10, Pervader in the 10, Pervader in the 10.
Oh, Kelly said Fiorini played the full 90 minutes. That would suggest that he's lined up to start, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's good news. Thank you for that.
Man,
Rodgers on the left.
You have to wonder about who's playing up front, who's available. Anyone? Or no one?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
might be Anderson on the left and Rodgers up front at this rate.
We don't know.
Jerry's back.
You'd say Jerry if he's fit. If not, Medine if he's fit.
If not, Lavry if he's not fit.
I'll say
or Beasley's not fit. Or
Beasley on crutches. Have you got a little crutch icon, John?
Well, go with Yates then. He's got to be right, hasn't he? He's got to be right.
Yeah.
He's a tough lad, him. He's not gonna stay out because of his sore back. He's not Nick, is he?
Glass back.
Glass back.
Glass back Smith.
I've left an hour and 16 minutes.
Again, yeah, that team could compete.
Well, it caused problems, wouldn't it? It would just cause problems. So
you look at that and think, we'll give him a game. Win, lose or draw. You'd say, I can't argue with that. We've given it our best shot. Yeah. I'd be buzzing if I saw that at 2:00 on Saturday.
And that's all you want, Nick, isn't it? That's all you want. You just want to have a go.
Yeah,
have a go at them.
The ground going, oh, bloody hell. You seen the team?
I'd like someone to come out and explain why that team won't work.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to hear. Why wouldn't that work?
Yeah. And if they think fair enough, because let's be honest, they're a bloody good side.
Yeah.
But as we saw at their place, they can concede. We put 3
when attacked. Yeah.
Yeah.
To see the team that played or team play like we did in the second half of that fixture.
God.
No, we attacked them, didn't we? But we did have a secret weapon. We had Corbyn who didn't have a clue what he was doing, so they didn't have a clue what he was doing, and it somehow worked. So maybe Hamilton should be on the pitch.
To take on Burnley. Grimshaw, Lyons, Thornley, Nelson, Gabriel, back four. 2 holding players in midfield, Connolly, Fiorini. A front three of Rogers, Pervader, and Bowler with Jerry Yates up top leading the line. So, with that in mind, what are your predictions for the game? Based on, again, let's do two predictions. Tim, firstly, with the team that he's going to play, and then with that team that we've just picked there.
4-0 defeat with his team.
Dear me.
2-1 defeat with that team.
Raggy.
Oh. I don't even know. Don't even know where to begin. I think
Go with Mick's team then.
2-2.
What about with our team?
2-1.
Win or defeat?
Win.
Nick. Mick's team.
2-0 to Burnley.
Our team.
2-1
to Burnley.
No. But look at that team and it brings a smile to my face, and I can't bring myself to say we're going to get beat with that team, even though we might do if they play to their potential. I'm going to go 2-1 to us with that team. Fingers crossed. Come on, the pool.
Yes.
I'm going to go 3-0 with Mick's team, and I'm going to go 2-2 with that team. It's going to be a Lancashire hot pot at Bloomfield Road, and we're going to come away with a point. It's going to be a standing ovation for John, Raggy, Nick and Tim as we lead the Seasiders to a fabulous point against the runaway league leaders.
Carrying Avitt off on our shoulders.
on a sedan chair. Right, I think we'll leave it there. I've talked enough for this evening, so we'll maybe see a few of you at the structured dialogue meeting. Raggy, are you getting Red Bulled up before you go in?
Oh, aye. I'll be in the Anfield from about 6. Get yourselves over there. Warming up. I'm just having a quick look what the Burnley score is now. They're playing Fleetwood. Oh,
it's 0-0, I think.
Nil. 87 minutes, 0-0. Fleetwood.
Right. Yeah, well, the rest of all the players are going to play against us on Saturday, I suspect.
Right, so let's jump off and watch that game. Maybe Fleetwood will scab a win and dampen the Burnley mood at Bloomfield Road on Saturday. So yeah, maybe not. Right, everybody, please like and subscribe for watching YouTube. Thanks for watching. Thanks for downloading. And up the pool against the Clarets.
Come on, pool.
Come on, the pool. Come on. Come on.